So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about another tech giant who is breaking in the Web 3.0 space. They're exploring this right now. This news just came out, so I want to jump on this live stream, tell you all about it this morning. We're going to check on the crypto markets. I know a lot of people are sitting there with their, war helmets on, hunkered down in their closets, thinking like, hey, what's going on out there? We're going to talk about that. We're going to answer some of your questions and a lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. Last but not least, like nothing I'm saying this video in regards to crypto is financial advice. There's lots of scammers down in the comment section below trying to take your crypto. So just ignore them. Like I'm never going to give you my phone number. Never going to ask you to invest with me. Probably never going to DM you on a social network. None of that stuff. Okay. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Automatic Beats, Norris, Rafiq, Stephen, Scott, Al, Danny, Robert, X, Venture Warrior. Welcome. All right, so let's get into this. So if you're just joining us back in for the live streams, quick, bit of housekeeping. I was out all last week. I was sick. I got the thing that's going around that we're not supposed to talk about on YouTube. So I'm still not 100% yet. So if my voice is like off, and I'm like coughing, I'm trying to mute myself whenever I cough so that it doesn't just like come across the microphone. My apologies. I'm getting better as fast as I can. Still not 100% yet, but I want to jump onto these live streams anyway for you all. So that's just a little personal update for me in case you missed it yesterday. I'm going to do my best to mute my microphone here. Last week, I didn't even have a voice towards the end of the week, so I couldn't even get on the live streams at all. But anyways, so let's go ahead and jump into this first update that just came out, okay? So Web 3.0 is just like taking off like crazy, right? We're seeing lots of people jump in the Web 3.0 space, particularly around the NFT use case. So we saw earlier this week I guess it was last week, I talked about yesterday, that Twitter, it has let people use NFTs as their profile pictures in an official way. So they actually have a feature where you can connect your wallet to your Twitter account, pull in the NFTs you actually own that they can verify it's your wallet, and then you can assign those to your profile picture with a special badge. Okay, that's not the update I'm talking about today. I'm just setting the stage for this. So we're seeing that. We're seeing, Coinbase offers NFT platform, lots of other stuff. But the biggest thing is like traditional tech giants are expanding into the Web 3.0 space, particularly around NFTs. Okay, so the update that just came out was that YouTube wants to help content creators capitalize on NFTs. So I want to talk about this, but I've got a cough. Hold on a second. I'm trying to mute my microphone. All right, thanks for being patient with me, everybody. I'm still getting over this junk. So anyways, YouTube wants to help content creators capitalize on NFTs. So this is big. We'll have to see if this comes to this channel, if we can make use of this feature, kind of play with this. But let's look at the details. So YouTube's exploring the idea of helping its content creators to capitalize on NFTs, according to YouTube's CEO in an annual letter to content creators. As reported by Bloomberg, okay, we're always focused on expanding the YouTube ecosystem to help creators capitalize on emerging technologies, including things like NFTs, while continuing to strengthen and enhance the experience that creators and fans have on YouTube, okay? She added that YouTube is taking Web 3.0 as a source of inspiration, okay? So YouTube is the only platform considering NFTs. We talk about Twitter verification, all this type of stuff. So I mean, NFTs have really taken the world, captivated the attention of the world in a way that I did not expect, especially not around the collectibles use case. I know there's a lot of people who are still like, diehard NFT skeptics. I totally get that for sure. But you simply can't ignore like what these major giants are doing, because ultimately they're responding to user demand, okay? And they're kind of leaning into this and saying, how far can we take this? Is this actually going to be sticky with our users? Excuse me. And so one thing that's really interesting about the NFTs in particular is that, NFT trading volume has not been significantly like impacted with the recent crypto downturn. I'll actually show you something that I saw yesterday. that supports that. So it's actually some data about NFT trading volume, despite what's been happening here. Let me see if I can pull this up here. So, sorry, I'm trying to find my tweet. I saw it yesterday. Okay, so OpenSea is very close to hitting an all-time high in monthly NFT volume sales. Okay, give me just 1 second. I need to mute myself. Sorry about that. All right, so OpenSea is very close to hitting an all-time high in monthly NFT volumes. Okay, so the last major peak was August 2021 of $3.16 billion. And here we are back now in January 2022 with $3.11 billion. And so you can kind of watch this hype cycle play out where, it just went up like crazy. I mean, you can't even call this a hockey stick. Like, that's what you typically describe when you talk about exponential growth. But this just looks like a tree that shot out of the ground out of nowhere, right? And then, kind of see this thing taper off, but then, the trend increase. And so this looks kind of similar to, if you talk about the Gartner hype cycle that like a lot of technologies undergo. I'm not saying it's going through its full Gartner hype cycle, but this is a pattern that could play out basically on a fractal. We're not talking about necessarily this playing on the big scale, but basically this is what tends to happen with new technology. You sort of have this thing where the technology triggers here, you have this peak of inflated expectations, and then you have this trough of disillusionment, okay, and then the slope of enlightenment, the plateau of productivity. So basically, here's where it comes out. Everybody gets super excited. The hype takes it way up here, and then people realize it doesn't totally live up to the hype that they expected. And then it goes through this trough of disillusionment where it's overappreciated here, underappreciated here, and then it finally starts to find its real value, which is kind of somewhere in the middle, okay? And so NFTs very well could be kind of undergoing some sort of thing kind of like that. Now, that being said, we're back up to the same levels that we were here. Okay, so it's not necessarily follow this pattern perfectly, right? But it's kind of the illustration is that most people have overinflated expectations of new technology in the short term and underestimated expectations for it in the long term, especially technology that actually ends up succeeding long term, which I do think NFTs will. I do think that Web 3.0 blockchain will. So, that's what we've seen over the past year. Is basically it's another sort of leap forward in the technology. Whenever that happens and new people get exposed to it, they think, oh, it's going to do all this stuff. And in one sense, it's true. It just takes a lot longer than you initially thought it was going to. And the state that it's in now doesn't live up to what your expectations were, whether those were sold to you, but those are sold to you in a dishonest, shady manner from other people who hype something up dishonestly, or you just got the wrong idea somehow. So we're seeing YouTube want to break into the NFT space. Twitter's broken the NFT space. We're seeing more people focus on metaverse. Metaverse is big for NFTs, or vice versa. NFTs are big for metaverse, I would say, because that's probably going to be the primary unit of account for ownership in metaverse. Is like how many NFTs do you own? That's most of the stuff in the metaverse is going to be non-fungible. That's what a non-fungible token is, and that's why I'm so excited about the value proposition of NFTs long term, not necessarily just because of the metaverse, but because they represent ownership of non-fungible items. I mean, what does that mean? So it's just fungible versus non-fungible. A fungible asset is something where you can exchange one asset for another, and it doesn't matter which asset you have, they're worth the exact same. So a dollar bill, assuming it's not a collectible dollar, like, you could just trade $1 for another. Doesn't matter which dollar you have, they're all worth the same, okay? but a fungible asset is where all of the things inside the same collection are worth different amounts. So trading cards, for example, it matters which trading cards you have because one might be rarer than another one or more rare. Okay, so there's a hierarchy. But you can apply that to other things like real estate, like houses. Location, square footage, finishes, all that type of stuff matters when you're dealing with a house. So you could definitely use non-fungible tokens for that. Same thing inside metaverse. Land, where is it? Items. So one other thing I was gonna check on here. Actually, let's see, we got a question here. What non-fungible executables? It's a good question. So somebody says never coded, want to learn, intention of getting a blockchain at some point. Best language to start with for a good overall foundation. So if you want to learn blockchain, the best foundation you can get is learning blockchain. So that basically means go learn Solidity. And then learn everything else as you go. So what you don't want to do is go learn a bunch of stuff where you think you're getting a good foundation, and then that's kind of an illusion. It's not really actually giving you a good foundation to learn blockchain. You're just kind of spending a lot of time learning programming fundamentals that you're going to forget because you don't have any idea how to actually use them. So what's the best way to learn something? Well, what if you were going to learn a foreign language? What's the best way to learn? It's through immersion, by living in the culture and speaking the language. It's like, how did you learn to talk? Somebody probably didn't hand you a book of phrases and vocabulary words and a grammar worksheet. You might have done that if you had to learn a different language later, but like when you were a child, like you had to learn to talk, you had no choice, and you were just tossed into like a world where people were going mama, dada, and you just learned to talk. So humans have this ability to acquire, skills and language this way, and it's the fastest way to learn. Okay, so that's what I would definitely say it's the same thing for learning programming. So what does that look like when you're coding? Well, it looks like you learn through demonstration. You learn by following what somebody else is doing, and you absorb the skills that way. Now, there's always room for working on fundamentals outside the context of like building projects, like learning by doing. But the order matters. You don't want to start with that. So you could go learn to build projects, and then you're not going to understand everything you're doing when you're building that, but you still see the result, you see the outcome, you gain context, and then you can spend time separately going through the fundamentals of the programming language, but do it later. That's what I would always say. You just don't want to start there because you're going to forget it all, and it's not going to make sense. What are the other utilities of blockchain other than crypto, NFTs, and smart contracts? So, blockchain is a very new field, and we are trying to figure out what we can do with it all the time. We really are just scratching the surface, in my opinion. And it's one of those things where you don't really know what the long-term value potential is and what the technology can create until we just get there, because there's probably stuff that we don't even see right now that's going to emerge later. Okay, that's how blockchain was in 2017, 2018. I was here when that happened, okay? And, that's when the last crypto bubble popped. And, we went to this grueling bear market for 2 years, basically. And during that time, at the beginning of that period, there are a lot of people, we had smart contracts with something like Ethereum. We had tokens, we had ICOs, and that was kind of the first major use case for what you could do with smart contracts. And then we weren't really sure what we were going to do after that, okay? We had some ideas. DeFi was kind of an idea in people's head, but there were no working good implementations out there yet. MakerDAO came out shortly after. We had the idea that we were going to use it for supply chain, but that still hasn't really taken off. We had lots of ideas about what it could potentially be, but very few, if any, working products. Okay. And there's some exceptions that I'm not totally mentioning right now, but those exceptions haven't really gone on to like, flourish in the use case. We had CryptoPunk shortly after as well, right? But the whole point is when you wield a technology that has so much promise and potential, you don't know what's going to work, but you have a pretty good idea that something amazing is going to come out of it because you can see what the benefits are. Okay. And that's kind of that's the whole nature of blockchain is you're throwing a lot of stuff against a wall, seeing what sticks, and some stuff sticks. I mean, and usually when the sticky use cases come out, they explode really quickly. That's what happened with DeFi. That's kind of what happened with NFTs whenever they started to really take off. You sort of see these fireworks go off. And I think one area that is prime for that it's probably like metaverse. So metaverse to me is one of those things where it's like, we're going to go really hard in that direction and a lot of stuff's going to just fail miserably. But there's probably, it's sort of like an all or nothing thing in my opinion, where it's like, we go hard on the metaverse and then something really valuable comes out of it, or it's just like bust. That's kind of how I feel at this point. So we'll see. That opinion could change over time. But this feels a lot like the entire crypto space did in 2017, at the end of 2017, where it's like, we got this big thing everybody's excited about. We don't exactly know, like what's going to come out of it, but we're pretty sure something amazing is going to. A lot of people think that's not a really great marketing pitch for a lot of metaverse companies, right? So they're not going to say it that way. But that's kind of the truth. But to me, that doesn't bother me because that's sort of like, okay, awesome. I'm here for the ride. I want to see what happens. Because that's what's so cool is there's all these incentives in play. So the incentive is the person to crack the code on what the sticky use cases are for metaverse. The spoils of war go to that person. Lots of opportunity to be a market leader, to just make an insane amount of gains from solving that problem. Okay. So you're going to have a lot of people who are like, let's do it. And that's what creates all the competition. That's what creates all the, people flocking to space to try to do that. So that being said, like, I don't think the metaverse is like a scam or anything like that. I want to be very clear about that. I think it has a lot of potential. We just don't exactly know what it's going to look like yet. So somebody let me know in the chat. Is the Fed meeting later today or is it tomorrow? I feel like I have conflicting information about this. We're going to look at crypto markets here in a second. I'm curious. If anybody knows in the live chat, let me know. Is the Fed meeting, is it today or tomorrow? I thought it was supposed to be today. So while y'all are answering that, somebody says, can I explain metaverse briefly? So metaverse is like an embodied internet. So think about like Web 3.0 with VR goggles and AR goggles. So virtual worlds, all type of stuff, powered by blockchain, where nobody owns it, but it's on blockchain. Somebody says Fed meeting is today and tomorrow. They report tomorrow. Okay, yeah, awesome. So let's go ahead and check on crypto markets here. It's been brutal out there for the past 7 days. I try to keep a positive attitude about it. I know there's lots of people feeling pain in the chat. I guess the reason I'm so positive about it is because the stuff that I'm in for the long term, mostly ETH, also Bitcoin, I have strong conviction about. Okay. And 50% correction, it sucks. Nobody wants that. We could have some pain even beyond this, but over the long term, like, you know, I haven't gotten out. Like I'm going to be 100% transparent with everybody. Like I'm still in. I'm not planning to add like right now. Okay, I do kind of want to wait and see what happens. But let's kind of take a look here. So the big factors at play, for sure, are what's going on with the Federal Reserve. Of course, we have some potential fears of what's going on in the international scene. I don't say too much about that because I don't want to step too far outside my lane here, but that's definitely a concern people are a little bit worried about. That I think is a factor here. I mean, crypto's been a little bit of a downtrend over the past several months, but I think what's the announcement of the Federal Reserve raising rates is definitely been a death nail to this downtrend, as we kind of clearly saw at the beginning of January. Put a lot of downward pressure on the market. So crypto is pretty correlated with what's going on in the stock market right now. We can pull up. Let's just see here. Pull up what's going on in the stock market. I mean, this is what happened to S&P 500, right? We erased 3 months of gains, all right, in a few days, basically. Really, since the beginning of January. Okay, so everybody's kind of singing the same tune. Crypto is highly correlated to stocks. I don't expect crypto to just make some, V-shaped recovery if stocks are still trying to figure out what they want to do. Okay, so I guess part of the reason that is somewhat comforting is that it's not just a crypto problem. Okay, so when you look at what's been going on with crypto prices, you're not just thinking, hey, this is a failure, like this is never going to work. That's not really what's happening here, in my opinion. Okay, I think a lot of this pressure that we're seeing now is coming from the stock market and just the overall economy. I mean, that we kind of got this news like around in here. We very well could have seen crypto kind of turn around and continue some sort of uptrend at these sort of support levels in here if we hadn't seen what's been going on with the Fed. So, I mean, we don't know. We don't have a split reality, you know what I mean, to test this off of. That's just my opinion. But yeah. The question is, we're going to see more pain, and I don't have a good answer to that question. I really don't. I wish I could stand up here and tell you, hey, everything's going to be perfect tomorrow. We're going back to resume up only. But I'm seeing a lot of smart people out there look at the macroeconomic environment and say, hey, this is a big question mark. So there's really nothing we can do about that right now. Of course, it's not financial advice for you. I'm not telling you to buy. I'm telling you to sell. I will issue words of caution that, you could be buying the dip and the dip can keep on dipping. So I've definitely learned that lesson the hard way in the past. You want to just be careful out there. I'm personally not adding more right now, just out of caution, but we'll see. I'll just say if anybody out there is feeling pain in the markets, I mean, I am too. So but the ultimate pain is selling when things are down and then watching it go back. Suppose it's still up over a year. Yep, totally. Especially Solana is facing downtime. What are your thoughts? And that's an issue. I won't say too much about it, but it's a problem. So says most NFTs can be changed by contract creators. I'm not sure that most NFTs can, but some can for sure. So that's one thing you have to understand is not all smart contracts. Sorry, let me just. I gotta. Sorry, I'm still getting over this. Smart contracts, by nature can't change, but you can create smart contracts in a way that you can change them. I'll put it that way. So, some NFTs will be like that, all right? But that's where being able to audit the code yourself is really helpful. So basically, you don't necessarily even have to be an advanced coder to be able to audit NFT contracts on a basic level, just to be able to read the code and say like, hey, can this contract change or not? You could acquire that skill basically by creating an NFT project like we show you on this channel, and you could take that knowledge and look at NFTs on Etherscan and say like, hey, is this code upgradable? So how can dApps help the common people if they don't know the crypto world? So that's a good question. So I still think there's a lot of promise for blockchain technology to power products where people don't even necessarily know that they are using blockchain behind the scenes, okay? So an example can be stablecoins are a pretty good example of this. Stablecoins can provide, or have the promise to provide efficiencies over the traditional financial system now, okay? Where people don't even necessarily have to know that they're using those things behind the scenes. Think like an interbank transfer, for example, could potentially be improved with like stable coins, and an end user does not even have to know that they're using that type of thing. This is a better, faster, cheaper type situation. Also, even just the existence of DeFi generating competitive yields could bring competition to the marketplace to where traditional banks have to, offer better yields in order to compete. We're not to that point yet, but that is one possibility. Somebody says Solidity is much easier to learn than Rust. Yes, that is true. All right, everybody. That's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below. Somebody's asking about tutorials on NFTs, though. We did just drop a tutorial yesterday on how to code a passive income NFT with royalties. That's something that people have asked me a lot about, so go check out that video if you haven't already. So anyways, that's all I got for today. As smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. That really helps these videos out so that more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, I can get started today. You can my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish, over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.